Hello, we're
And
back.
welcome back. And today's topic, we're going to jump into something that is a pretty big factor in life and especially in business, and that is the fear of rejection.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to give you three pieces that are going to help you overcome the fear of rejection. And we're going to do two of them. And the third one, you'll want to stick around for the third one, which I'm going to give you a practical tip that you can start right now to overcome that fear of rejection, to bring that fear down for yourself.
So fear of fear of reject.
What's in that coffee?
I think now I'm feeling afraid. No, the fear of rejection. It's like how is that actually having an impact on life in businesses? What kind of things have you experienced? How do you feel like that fear of rejection has impacted you, us in our journey, our business?
Sorry, I just needed to do that one to not make that sound over your talking. Um, I forgot to take that thing off. Yes, so fear of rejection, of course, impact can keep us really stuck. It can be really paralyzing, and of course, as you say, it affects a lot of areas of life, including relationships and things like that. So personal relationships. I mean, certainly sales calls and putting yourself out there on social media, doing videos, starting a YouTube channel. There's all kinds of actions that we know would help our business, but that fear of rejection can be one of the reasons for procrastinating, for putting it off. And there's the first piece of the three pieces we want to share with you today is that the original cause of that fear of rejection, and it's probably not going to be a surprise to most of you, the original cause comes from childhood, of course. So from unconscious childhood memories that form our self-image and worldview, our unconscious
Hmm.
self-image and worldview. So although childhood is over now, the effects of it during childhood, our self-image and worldview are formed, and those references, those unconscious references, are still there as adults. That's how we become who we are. So in real time, as we think about taking certain action, the brain is referring to whatever those references are and then pumping stress chemicals into our system like adrenaline and cortisol that are causing the feelings of fear. And then, of course, the conscious mind interprets that as I don't want to, I'm too scared, or I hate sales, or whatever else is there.
Yeah, the way that I see it is that um, whatever situation we're encountering right now, whether it is a sales call or I'm sitting in front of a camera doing a video, what is going on in the background, or the way that I've envisioned it in my mind, is that your subconscious is trying to figure out a reaction to have in this moment. How should I be reacting in this moment? I'm in front of a camera. What does that look like? What does that remind me of? It from and it's just using what we've experienced in the past in order to be able to know how to react, how to feel in the moment. And um, all of that, all of that is happening subconsciously. We are not thinking about any of that. It's just the machinery that is operating in the background.
Exactly. And then the second piece is understanding that this is so before we go on to the practical tip, in fact, before we go on to the second piece, the whole topic of the unconscious childhood memories that are forming our self-image and worldview, the great news is that those references can actually be changed to the opposite, positive and empowering, and then automatically you no longer have the fear, which is why we're so excited about sharing this, because it means that you no longer have to try and not be frightened or try and use your conscious mind to overcome that fear. It's automatic. And I'm going to share a little banner thing. No, that's not it. what did I just do? There we go. Is it that? Yeah. Sorry. We have a free masterclass that goes into details on what those references are and how they can be changed, so that you become one of those people who doesn't have a fear of rejection. So that's kind of the long game. You know, you watch that masterclass and you go through the process to change those. The second piece we want to share with you before we go into a practical tip is understanding the fact that we have an innate survival mechanism that means we need to be accepted and approved of on a core level for survival, because as humans we're not designed to survive on our own, and certainly not, of course, as babies and children. So that means that we have a drive to please those big people who are supposed to be keeping us alive, because if they don't like us or they disapprove of us, they reject us, then we'll die. And certainly if there's not enough resources or there's any kind of physical danger, they're going to save someone else instead of us. So that's kind of obviously not in so many words, and certainly not consciously, but unconsciously, that's our drive to please these people.
Yeah, I think that it's really important to understand that that's something that is there innately. It's there, that, you know, it came pre-programmed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a factory setting, and we are when we experience those feelings, that fear of rejection, for a lot of us, you know, this fear is there, and it feels like the fear of death. And if you think about it, you know, from that little baby's point of view, or that little us that is just trying to survive, and again, all of that happening unconsciously, it's just the way the machinery is operating in the background, or the program is operating in the background. That fear of death is what's hanging over us because of that innate need to connect with our caregivers. And if we're rejected, we die.
Mm-hmm.
We know that innately. Now, that's what's being tapped when we're in a situation where it starts to feel like that a situation from the past. I might be rejected if I get on this camera right now.
Mm-hmm.
And unconsciously in the background, that's the reference that's being pulled. And those are the neurochemicals that end up feeling, because it doesn't necessarily make logical sense
Mm-hmm.
that picking up a telephone or standing in front of a camera or having a conversation with somebody is inherently going to kick up those feelings that I might die. But that's where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And spending time finding those references in the past, what we experienced in the past, being able to actually change that changes what our subconscious mind is referring to, and it thus changes the neurochemistry inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the point of those references is to change them to the opposite, positive and empowering, so that your brain is then producing feel-good chemicals when you think of doing a sales call, or you having a conversation with someone, or being out there on social media, or making a video, so that you have those feel-good chemicals creating excitement and fun, and you're enjoying it. So the third piece, which is the practical tip I want to give you. So obviously the changing those references is what's going to give you permanent, significant change and automatic change, so that you no longer have to think about it. But this is a little tip that can help you in the meantime as well. And this is shifting your focus. So most of what we do, two things here. First of all, thoughts are connections between neurons that trigger matching chemicals. So that means when we're thinking of being judged, when we're thinking of I'm scared, I'm scared this person's going to judge me, or they're going to reject me, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or whatever those thoughts are, those thoughts are pumping stress chemicals into your system in real time that are causing the fear. And of course, as we feel the fear, we add more thoughts to it about how terrible it is. And so it becomes a vicious circle. And as we are thinking about taking some sort of action, that I'm aware of, I'm doing that now with my hand, just going to make the focus of the camera. As we're thinking of taking certain action, let's say doing a sales call or putting myself out there on social media, and we tend to think of it as some sort of test or some sort of somebody's judging us. So it feels like we're doing a performance, or we are doing an exam, something like that. Instead, shift your focus to how that one person is going to feel once they get what you have to offer. So for example, let's say you want to sell your thing. You have a thing, you want to sell the thing. Okay. When you think of selling your thing, most of us are thinking, how am I going to do this? How does it feel to me? How am I going to explain it? Are they going to understand me? What are they going to think? They're not going to want it. We're thinking all of that from that perspective. Now, instead, before you get into that situation, start thinking about the end result. How is that person going to feel once they have your thing and they're experiencing the benefit of it? So, excuse me. So, for example, let's say you have a marketing system of some kind. And so you think, okay, I want to sell my marketing system I want a client. Instead of thinking, how am I going to explain my marketing system, and what do I have to say, and what are they going to think, and what are going to be their objections and things like that, have a strategy, of course, but start by thinking of how is that person going to feel once they get all of the clients that your marketing thing is going to bring them, and start getting excited for them, for that result, rather than thinking of what you have to do. Think, imagine being them. Imagine how exciting it's going to be for them once they have that result. And the reason for that is two things. Number one, because then you are making different neural connections in your brain. So as you think about that final result and how wonderful it's going to be for that person, and you start to get excited about it, those neural connections are starting to produce feel-good chemicals. And those do two things. Number one, of course, you'll feel better, which is the first thing. The second thing, they're going to bring your prefrontal cortex online. So that's the cognitive thinking part of the brain, so that you can think clearly. And what that will mean is that whatever you do say to that person, or whatever you do write, or the content you create, is going to be a lot more impactful. It's going to speak to the end result for that person. You're going to have a much better chance of success because you'll be presenting it in a different way automatically, because it feels exciting.
Yeah,
and you've got that part of your brain online.
And I think that this is it's a great little practical tip to begin to change that neurochemistry right now in the moment. Obviously, what we found to be most effective and more long lasting is to actually go back and find the roots, the unconscious innate references that are back there that cause that fear in the first place. So, do take the time, to check out the masterclass. We go into a lot more detail regarding that. But in the meantime, do what it takes right now to change your own neurochemistry in the moment.
Right. Yes. So we hope that's helpful. Let us know in the comments what you think, and if you've got any questions, of course. And that was it for today, was it?
Absolutely.
I think so. All right. See you next time.
All
Bye-bye
right.
now.
Bye for now.
It went. How bizarre. It won't click. Huh. So it will be gone in a minute, which is